What is up, YouTube? What is up? What is up? What is up? Welcome back. Obviously, by the title and thumbnail of this video, which honestly could use a lot of work, but I digress. This is about how to avoid creative burnout. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to walk you through a framework of how I shoot some of my content, specifically my strategy videos, my ads, my branded content, whatever. I'm going to walk you through my pre-production process, which involves scripting and then also ideating the shots. So I'm creating like a micro shot list in my head. And then what I'm going to do is walk you through kind of like the editing strategies I also use that allow me to kind of have a very speedy workflow and understand exactly what I'm doing from start to finish. When I get an idea, I know how to take that from just idea to final execution to be ready to be posted online. So we're going to kind of walk through this pretty quickly. And again, a lot of this video is going to be looked at through a lens of avoiding burnout, especially from my experience in editing for very high level people, having to be on strict deadlines. A lot of that happens and really can block you up in the editing process. So we'll get to that. But before we get into any of that, we're gonna kind of walk through my creative process, and I'm actually gonna show you step by step of what it looks like to make one of my videos. So really what I'll do is I'll utilize the actual ad that I made for Motion Array in this video and kind of reference that as we go along here. And then we'll kind of wrap this up and I'll start getting into some things about how, the assets I use, the asset libraries that I use, and how they actually really help. And again, all these different little strategies, tactics, things that I do to avoid being burned out, so I can keep going and keep making content. Because the one thing I'll say on this, the majority of people quit before they even post like 30 videos. I think the statistic is like 79%. It's something absurd like that. So in order to not be one of those people, I hope you actually watch this video entirely. So yeah, let's do it. So first things first. So we're actually gonna look at this script together. And again, I'm gonna reference some of the clips and things that are going on here. But when I go to write this, the first thing I do is come up with my concept. And a lot of that starts with the hook of the video. Really what I didn't have half of this going on when I first thought of it, right? The first thought was, as a filmmaker and marketing consultant, I'm always trying to find ways to make my videos and my clients' videos more watchable. So really my platform and what I do as a marketing consultant, creator consultant, business consultant, brand consultant, everything is rooted in content strategy and making better content. So I was like, cool, how can I talk about this and then tie in Motion Array to that, right? So that becomes the hook of the video and then also becomes the concept of the video, because now without question, within the first 5 seconds, you know exactly what it is I'm making. I want to be making content that people can easily understand and content that has the most potential to go viral. That's a pretty broad statement, and everybody wants videos that are more watchable, because what does that mean? That can mean more views, more engagement, more business, more that, whatever. So anyway, as we start to really look at this and build this out, what I'll do is like with notes like this, I have a little creative note of like walking downstairs in the living room, looking up to the camera. Every single line that is in this script is typically going to be shot at a different angle. I'm going to pick up my camera, move it on the tripod, set up a different quote unquote scene for every single one of these. And what I'm doing is combining the scripting process with the shooting process into one. That way, when I go into the actual shooting process, it doesn't take me a long time. I don't have to worry and be like, damn, what should this next shot be? What should this be? That all's already taken place. So again, when we start looking at this through a lens of like avoiding burnout, I'm really structurally putting like a lot of effort into the beginning parts rather than thinking about all this like on set and wasting time and whatever. So the quick tactic here is to actually front load your work and put the majority of your time into that scripting and kind of creative direction process. That way, again, when you get to the shooting process, which is part 2, you're not spending a lot of time. You are gonna be on like time crunches, typically all the time. Any shoot and any like reservation for a studio, 2 hours, 4 hours, whatever it is, that time you do not get back. So if you fuck up the shooting process, like you have, it's gonna cost a lot of money to fix it, whatever. Anyway, so I say all this to say, your strategy here to help you really create better content and avoid burnout is front loading your work, making sure that when you're scripting, you're also thinking about how is this gonna get shot. And then also when at like a more elite level, you're also kind of thinking of the edits that you're gonna do. And this is honestly a muscle that takes time to develop, but I'm really thinking of all of that in one area rather than in individual pieces. And again, even like the design of this, so like every single like different line here being a different shot, that becomes a format of content that I'm gonna run and roll with through really any strategy video or any branded content or sponsored ad or whatever it might be. This again allows me to know exactly what I'm doing and how to start thinking about the content ideas before I even get to a point of being like, I have a great idea, I don't really know how to execute this. Well, if I have these formats and I have these like concepts in place, which you could easily steal from this video, it makes content a lot easier. My job, literally, aside from everything else I do, is teaching people how to avoid burnout and teaching strategies of like, once you have a format of how your workflow needs to exist and even your editing process, once you have that, you just keep doing it. One of the things with social, and I see this all the time, is people just try to switch and they're like, oh, now that I made this one video, I can't do this again. And that's just not true. You actually want to just keep doubling down on this stuff and remaking what's working. This format that I'm giving you right now and like how I'm doing it and how I'm shooting it and like the ideation of this, the script and everything, literally is something that I have done multiple times and has gone viral a majority of the time. So by now you understand how easy it is to turn an idea into an actual video by utilizing the hook of your video to be the main concept and then building out your script from there. And part of this is like looking at the script and understanding like the direction that I'm going. And really what I'll do is I have my hook. I have like a quick, maybe 1 to 2 sentences of qualifier statement that kind of, again, gives some additional context. But then I'm really getting into the value, because like this line right here is my big segue into, okay, great. Dimitri's about to go into exactly what I'm going to get out of this video. So like the line here is, anyway, here's one thing I don't see a lot of people talking about that I found actually makes the most difference when it comes to elevating your brand and making better content faster. Now it's like, hell yeah, there's the sauce. He talked about this in the beginning. He gave the context. He kind of walked through maybe a quick couple examples at first, but now he's really about to get into it. So this is where I start talking about editing and how editing truly is the final boss. Like, editing is something nobody wants to do. All the creators, as soon as they get some sort of traction, or not all of them, but a good majority of them, they go and outsource their creative. They go and outsource their editing, which like, that's fine. You can do that. But like, the reason people do that is because it takes so much time. It's very difficult. And it's something that you have to have a good streamlined process for, or else this is where you start to really approach this wall of burnout. This is a perfect time to segue into things like the ARTLIST artist library and the motion array asset library. And the reason this is so important is because these are literally just drag and drop assets. You have a literal hub that you can just click, find a sound effect, you can find text, you can find a motion graphic and whatever, and you can just drag this directly into your timeline. There's no other technology like this. And again, before, the number one gripe and complaint from editors is that they're spending so much time trying to find all of these assets and then build their own library. When in reality, you could just pay for a subscription per month and you avoid all of that time. I mean, if you're really trying to quantify that, I mean, this is like 20 to 30 hours of work that you're eliminating by investing in something that already makes sense for you to do if you are like taking content creation seriously. So I won't beat that point to death. I'm trying to save time. I'm trying to save you time. And you as a creator need to be thinking, how can I make the highest quality content by cutting the most corners, right? What can I do to still make really elite content? What does my process look like? And how can I do this to where I can still shoot everything on a camera, make it really high quality, make a really good brand image, but do it fast? And so that is my process. Like, that is really what I do, is I go to script this out. I literally break down every single thing line by line. And when I go to shoot it, I'm breaking this down and moving my camera around a lot and whatever. But in reality, my shooting process literally takes only like an hour at most. I just got to make sure that the script is right. And I got to make sure that I sound authentic. Because if I don't, then I'm like, all right, this is annoying. Nobody's really going to believe this, and things like that. So really, I try to like really go through the script and memorize it to some degree, but then I like say it in my own way. I almost use it as like a little bit of inspiration, then I build from it. But the majority of the time it is going to be line by line, but I am building in my head, like, this needs to feel authentic. This needs to feel this way, X, Y, and Z. The last thing I'll say when it comes to creative burnout is thinking about a content strategy that mixes high quality videos, medium quality videos together, and then also low quality videos. So for example, let's kind of walk through this and I'll show examples as I'm talking about each one of these. You can sit here on your iPhone and just rant well enough and throw like little aesthetic captions on there that doesn't require any editing, and those videos will pop off. For example, the video that you're looking at right now does way better than some of my really high produced content. But those videos specifically do help me avoid creative burnout. I can post something like that to Instagram and I know it's still gonna click and still gonna give me views. But if I was to sit there and like hyper produce it, hyper edit it, and that does like 1,000 views every single time, well, then I'm going to be like, dude, like, this is really fucking annoying. And like, I'm spending so much time editing. I'm spending 12 hours editing just a quick, like, what it's like, you don't need to do that. You should be mixing this into a literal layered system. And that is good content strategy. Nobody really talks about this because everybody wants to gatekeep fucking everything. But like, that is what I do. If you look at my platform, it is a beautiful mix of all of that. And so like, when we start bumping this up and getting into like medium mix format content, it's still shot on like TikTok or in app like that. And then what I do is I add like little text layers and I add things that are all done inside the app. And it helps keep the video pacing along. It's still educational. There's a lot of value in there, and it's helping helps just to like literally be like just entertaining. But again, those don't really take that long to make. I can edit those on the go. If I'm in an Uber, if I'm on the way to a party, it literally doesn't matter. I can just edit that and then get it up and have that exist, right? Then it comes to high quality content. Here's where a lot of people, I do not want to open up a can of worms at all in this, but what I will say is this: there is a level of high produced quality content that you will see from me that absolutely goes viral. I've got 600,000 views on this video. Other videos though, however, that I've spent probably 12 hours editing that are at that 1,000 and 2,000 and 3,000 mark. Now, most people won't see this process through long enough to experience the result and reward of shooting everything on a camera, being able to make really high quality content. For example, Carl Shakur. He's a great example of this. Everything he does is a mix of iPhone mix with like Ray-Ban glasses, but then also really high quality camera footage. And then he blends this all together. And this is like literally his brand. It's fucking genius. Most people, when they go to shoot something on a camera or produce and like go to put all this effort, these videos end up flopping. And it really doesn't have anything to do with like the quality at that point. It's the authenticity behind the camera and it's how you're presenting that information. Because at the end of the day, it really doesn't matter if you shoot on a camera, iPhone, or whatever. You need to be able to communicate what you're saying and resonate with the person on the other side of that fucking screen. And that is very important. I literally just made a video on this and it actually really did well. So there's very much so truth into this. I would say this: the higher up in quality you go to avoid that burnout feeling of editing something too long and then putting it out, well, there's probably something off with your presentation. There's probably something off with your authenticity in there. And that is a massive, massive key to understand and learn and build from. All of my really high produced content, I still try to embed and inject my personality into it. That way I'm hedging myself on the post-production. If this video does 1,000 views or 2,000, I'm like, well, at least I didn't put as much time into it as I could have, or at least I still put my personality in there, and like, it's okay. A flop is a flop. Looking at flops through a lens of this is all a part of the process is a must-have for creators to avoid creative burnout. I know this video is a little bit scattered. I think there's a lot of good nuggets in there to pull from, but at the end of the day, your goal as a creator is to minimize your process where you feel like I'm really coming close to that burnout mark, and then scaling it back, and then still being able to produce output and still keep creating. People that are most successful on social media or YouTube or anywhere are the people that just keep going and getting better each video or getting better as time progresses, right? Your goal is to constantly get better. I mean, your goal would be to keep making higher quality content, more and more valuable content, getting better and better with that process. But people quit. People fucking quit because they hit burnout and then they do not continue making content, when in reality I've seen some really good people actually fall off the cliff, and I'm like, dude, like if you would have just kept going, like you can legitimately change your life with this shit. And I know you've probably heard that a million times. I know that sounds cliche, but that is so true. It's so true. So anyway, last thing, please comment anything that you would like to see me rant about, or probably try to orchestrate a more organized video, because yeah, I love talking about this stuff. Obviously you can tell I'm probably pretty passionate about what I do. I think I obviously would not be doing it if I did not have that passion behind it. So yeah, if there's any other things that you have question wise about content, this, that, and the other, like I will dump that into a video, or if it's a broader topic, I can make a separate video on that specifically in this format. So it'll be very fun. You'll get to literally basically have a one-on-one journal thought dump consult with me, which yeah, that'd be great. So anyway, hope you enjoy this video. Like, subscribe, all that stuff. But remember, this is brought to you by Motion Array, and this is sponsored by them as well. So that partnership to me is just amazing, because one, it just makes so much sense. And when it comes down to saving time, like I can't do what I do without them. So I remember the first time they reached out, I was just like, yeah, this is insane. Like this is something that is beyond like in line with my brand and what I'm doing. So obviously very grateful for it. And if you're a creator, I got connects. So shit, if you're making insane content, I might just slide over an email and be like, hey, you should keep a lookout for this guy too, or this lady, or whoever. So anyway, all right, that's it. Go be great, make some amazing stuff, and we'll chat very soon.